just as like a little intro for when I actually when I edit this and put this on YouTube and etc. We are going to be watching episodes 1 through 28 of season 1 of Public History. I guess we'll just start watching. I'm not sure if we'll want to like pause to talk about stuff or if we'll just like talk over. We'll just do it by instinct.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. We'll wing it.
All right, here he goes.
I'd like to tell you all a story. It's funny because it's the story of my birth and I'm not even the main character.
So this is how the book starts, the original book. Because the book is told in first person, and it's basically Dickens David Copperfield telling the story of his birth, and it's basically the same. Like, I didn't change that much for this monologue. It was, it was just like, I mean, it's said in like a different way, but like the plot points of like, Aunt Betsy had like a terrible husband and like exiled him. I think she exiled him to Australia in the book, because that's what people did in England back then. But besides that, like, Aunt Betsy is just as much of a weirdo in the book, and I love her.
Yeah, I when I was rewatching it earlier, when Aunt Betsy like finally shows up, you're like, oh my God, Aunt Betsy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is like the only episode, like this was what we used for my audition, was this scene. And I didn't know that, you know, we were able to like kind of cut and edit the way that we did. So I had my friend come over and I was like, I have an audition in like 2 hours I gotta send in and I need to memorize this. I need you to help me. And so I sat there and like tried my best to like get it all down. Then when I show up, you're like, oh, we can just cut and stuff. And I was like, really?
Sorry.
No, but that was fine. That's why this one is like, bam.
Yeah, you got it. But yeah, so what I will say is your audition was like one of the last ones because we had to recast David very last minute.
Yeah, I remember that.
We had actually filmed a little bit with the other guy, and I'm just gonna say, and interestingly, this day when we were filming, because Jennifer, who played Peggy, was also there, and I remember there was a point, and she had been the only other person who was there when we filmed with the first guy, and when you left the room at one point, she turned to me and she was like, he's so much better.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I loved working with her, though. I loved her as Peggy.
Yeah.
You can literally see it in my face, too, whenever we have a scene together. I just loved her.
She's great. She's wonderful. I knew of her before actually she even auditioned for this, because I've been involved in this whole world of like literary inspired web series for a while, since like 2014. And she had actually made a web series herself called The Jane Games, which was basically like like if like there was a dating show, but like all of the Jane Austen ladies were the contestants. And so she made that show and she played the Lizzie Bennet character.
Wild. What's it called?
The Jane Games.
The Jane Game.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look that up. That sounds fun.
Yeah, you guys have great chemistry here. I love Peggy and David so much, because in the book she's dead by the end of the book, and I was like, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about it is she's a lot older at the start of the book, and at the start of the book, David's like 9 years old or 7 years old or something like that. And so she just like dies of old age in the book, because like she was just like an old lady by the end. But what's interesting about like this first part of the book, at least even like the first season, I guess, is because I divided the show in like the seasons based on the point in the book when there was a big time skip. So like the first half of the book is like David from being a little kid to like honestly like the age this character is in this. And then after the time skip, he like goes to school and like it's and stuff like that. And then after the time skip is a much shorter span of time where he's like getting involved with Dora, and like there's like the whole Uriah Heep stuff going on. I feel like we didn't actually talk about that episode that much because I was kind of ranting. But yeah, it was basically I want to go back a little bit. Oh, I did a
Mhm.
typo in the in the captions. Whoops. There's our first little foreshadowing moment
Yeah, of
of
the mom. We only see her like twice, right? She's in 2 episodes?
yeah, Clara is in like 2 episodes and Ed is in 1 episode. And I want to give a big
Yeah.
shout out to Caitlin, who played Clara in those 2 episodes, and then Timothy, who played Ed in that 1 episode, for being willing to come over for like a very short shoot.
Yeah.
And just being like, "Yep, I'm gonna be here. We're gonna film the episode, and I'm out, and I'm good." And it was wonderful. I always feel bad when I have to cast someone for only like 1 or 2 episodes, because it's like I feel like I'm not giving them enough for like to compensate for like their whole time of like getting over to the filming location and stuff like that. But they were both really
Right.
nice about it.
Yeah, they both did great too.
Yeah.
Both the scenes with the mom, I remember, were very emotional.
Yeah.
And she did very well. It
Mhm.
I don't know, like like eventually I just kind of like me and David just kind of like boop. So
Yeah. I mean,
at
that's understandable considering you were in all 80 episodes of the show.
yeah. Definitely like adopted some of his personality for a while.
Yeah, that's understandable. Well, what's interesting is I remember reading something where Charles Dickens said that David was his favorite son.
Mhm.
And after making this show, I think that David is also my favorite son.
Yeah.
But like my David specifically, not Dickens.
Not the other one.
Yeah, because Dickens David, like I love that character, but he has some flaws that I kind of tweaked a little bit to make make him less of a person who annoyed me in the show.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Mostly sexism. But I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
it's a Dickens book. What are you gonna do about
Exactly. I was
that?
gonna say, I'm sure there's plenty of that
Yeah.
in the novel.
This episode is the start of what I like to call David lies straightforward to the camera.
Honestly.
David straight up sits in front of the camera and lies. is what this episode is the start of. He's like, I don't have a problem with Ed. He's fine. I like him. I'm glad my mom's dating him. I'm not lying.
Honestly, it wasn't too hard to act. I went through similar things. Honestly, I went through very similar situations that David went through when I was a child.
Oh.
So it was really easy to like kind of tap into how he would feel as like a younger person going through something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't envy the situation at all. I mean, David went through more than I ever went
Yeah,
through in my
yeah,
life for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But it's very universal problems I feel like he goes through, especially in like America nowadays.
Yeah.
With the divorce rate and all of that going on.
Yeah.
Like you made David really relatable, which
That's good to hear.
oh yeah.
I always worry about, because like the thing about these kinds of like vlog series is that if you're not emotionally connecting to the character who is the one talking to the camera all the time, I feel like it's really hard to make them work.
Oh yeah.
So one thing, because I've made a couple series like this with like a character talking to the camera, and whoever is talking to the camera, I always need to like get into their head really specifically and be like, what would they say? And what would they say when there's no one else in the room and when there are other people in the room? Because those are also two very different things.
Yeah. I think one of the exercises we did in college was we would have to go through, if we were cast as something, we would have to go through the entire book and list everything that your character said about it themselves, and then everything every other character said about your character, and then kind of combine that and see like how would that become a real person. What are they hiding from themselves? What are they hiding from others?
Yeah.
And you tied that in beautifully. The
you.
very first thing I noticed when you sent me over the script was how amazing the writing was and how everything really
that means
comes
a lot. Seriously.
Oh no, I told everyone. I was like, I want to be involved with this girl's projects for like the rest of my life. Like the writing was so good. To this day, I stand by that statement.
Thank you. That really means a lot, especially like I've been like writing a lot lately. because I'm like looking for jobs and like working on creative stuff right now. And a lot of it is just very demoralizing where I read something I wrote and I'm like, this is garbage. What am I doing? But like, it definitely is different when like, I'm much more critical of myself than I think I am of others, etc.
Writing's hard though. I could never do that.
So what I think is really funny is in the book, Pegady's uncle is named Daniel. But what's fun about this is that we are filming at my friend Dan's house. Dan, who has been in a couple other things I've made, he's an actor as well. And this room is very recognizable if someone watched my Importance of Being Earnest web series, because this was used in a scene. There she is, the girl. And also, I love Cam too, but Emily is my girl.
Yeah, they were both fun to work with.
Yeah.
What was her? I forget. She had this line where like I forget, it was like frozen yogurt or something. I forget, but like something was more important.
Fudge. It was Cameron talking about fudge.
Yeah, I always laugh at that.
Yeah. I had worked with Alina, who's playing Cameron in this before, and she's wonderful. I feel like so she has a pretty minor role in this, and she also had a somewhat minor role in the other thing I made with her, and I want to give her like a main role. I want to write something like for her to be a star, because I think she's great, and I just have not found like the opportunity to put her like in a really big role.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a good idea. She got such a great look for like that film kind of composition as well.
Yeah.
I remember this bed just being so soft. I was like sinking. I feel like I'm in a swimming pool right now. It was honestly, I wanted to steal that mattress.
Well, I mean, that's actually kind of good because the whole like when they're in Yarmouth, it's themes of like the ocean and water and stuff like that. So if you felt like you were sinking, baby, that's on theme.
See, it was all planned. It's all coming together.
I didn't go into this as much as maybe I would have liked to, but Emily talks here about how Peggy is also like a sister to her. And I wanted to like dive in more to Peggy and Emily's relationship. And I just never really found the opportunity. And I had like a bunch of ideas after like production wrapped, and I was like, oh, dang it.
Isn't that how it always goes?
Yeah. And then this is the reason I included the stuff about Emily wanting David to find Peggy a boyfriend is because I absolutely just needed to include the Barkus is willing line from the book, which is kind of a line that if people read the book, they kind of know that line where Mr. Barkus tells David to tell Peggy that Barkus is willing.
I do remember that scene. That was fun.
Yeah, in the book, Cam is a boy named Ham. Ham Peggotty.
A boy named Ham or Ham?
Ham.
Okay. Probably a good change to make.
Yeah. Well, I was debating for a while between Hannah for this character, and then I settled on Cam, just because it felt like it fit the character I ended up writing more. Because I don't know exactly, but I just liked Cam better for the character by the end.
Yeah.
I love the contrast between Cam and Emily, where Emily like dreams of like being a movie star, and Cam's like, I'm just happy to stay here and fish.
Yeah. I was definitely that way growing up. I grew up in Delaware, so super tiny town. But I was so content to spend the rest of my life there and just like settled in this little suburban life.
Yeah.
And then I think the college I wanted to go to was in Indiana, and I didn't get in. But I got into a college in New York. So I was like, why not, study theater in New York? Yeah. And so I moved here and I was like, oh my gosh.
There's other things in the world.
Yeah, I was like, there's more than cornfields out here in the world. Maybe this is more interesting.
Yeah. I want to go back a little bit because I just love Alina's line delivery around here. Emily's a cliche.
Going to go to LA and be an actress.
LA, be an actor.
Yeah.
That's pretty far.
I mean, I could go to New York, but there's something.
It's funny that we're filming this in New York, but
I've always wanted to go.
We're about to get, okay, so this is directly from my childhood, is watching old MGM movies, specifically Esther Williams. I take a lot of like random like things about my life and put them in different characters.
Gotta go watch something.
I feel like that's what works best though for writing. Like it makes it actually come from the heart, you know, a place of knowledge.
Mm-hmm. And like Kim having to turn off the camera because they just got excited and left. Okay, this episode, what's interesting about this episode is it was my first time meeting Annika. And that was like, I felt really bad for making her trek out to the beach in Coney Island for our first meeting. And then having you guys wear these coats. It was summer and I made you guys wear coats because it takes place in the winter. Just ignore the people in the background who are wearing shorts.
Swimsuits,
Listen, some things you can't control.
Exactly. No, it still worked out well. I remember we almost had to redo the audio for this episode, right?
Yeah, and I did ask you guys to do like some ADR recording, and then when I was trying to edit it, I was just having so much trouble like syncing up the ADR with the lip movements and stuff like that. And eventually I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to clean up what we filmed on the day as much as possible. And there are some moments in this episode where like things get a little staticky.
I feel like it kind of adds to it though. You know, you're on the beach, you're gonna hear other sounds that drown you out.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird because like part of me is like, oh, it's realistic. And then the other part of it is like, yeah, but people are going to watch it and say, man, she sucks at recording audio. So it's a contrast.
Well,
this is also that what Emily says here comes from the book. So when Emily and David meet in the book, they're both like pretty little kids. And I didn't have to like condense like basically 10 years of David's life into this first season. So it definitely is like a lot happens to David in this season because a lot happens in 10 years of a person's life. And I just forced it down to like 6 months.
Yeah, he really goes through it.
Yeah.
Just one thing after another.
Yeah. But I like the idea of Emily, like she wants to be a famous actress. And part of that is like, cause she just wants to be famous. But another part of it is like, she wants to have power to protect the people she cares about. Oh, there we go. Smooch. And David's like, what the fuck just happened?
Aw, first kisses.
Aw. And now David gets upset.
I love this scene. I love filming. I don't know why, but I just love this little monologue here.
I think it's great whenever David like lets himself be angry about things.
Right? Like he's just so nice all the time. He deserves to be angry more often.
Yeah. I felt really bad because I posted like I've been posting the episodes on TikTok, and I posted this one and like I tagged it as like this is fictional. I made no attempt to pretend that this was like David's own TikTok that he posted or something like that. But someone on TikTok responded about like something similar happening to them because they like thought that this was a real person posting a video. And I felt bad because I felt like I was like lying to them, but I was trying not to. Oh, well.
No. They'll figure it out.
I do want to look down at the comments sometimes. Shout out to Balf. Yeah, what the fuck? Your parents should get married without telling you. That's fucked up. True.
Yes, both of those accounts actually, they comment pretty regularly.
Yeah, well, Balf is a good friend of mine at this point and have been like a big supporter of like the work I do. They actually did a series of like live blogs on Tumblr. of watching these episodes, and I read those sometimes to cheer myself up because they say nice things about my work. Oh yeah, he's like, oh yeah, Emily and I aren't dating, by the way.
Let me add that in there, the end of my little rant.
So something interesting about episodes 8 and 9 is that they were originally swapped in order. I was originally going to post the episode where he talks to his mom before this one, but then I realized like they have like that whole like deep talk, and then for David to find out after that she was pregnant felt like too cruel for his mom to do. For like them to have like that whole like intimate conversation, she didn't, and she hadn't even told him about the baby yet. So I moved this before that, so he finds out earlier.
Yeah, I think that was a good call. I really like how it progresses. The things he finds out about what his mom's doing, and that it's always a shock factor when his mom is involved, both for him and for the audience. I feel, especially in the episode coming up. I'm sure you know which one I'm talking about.
Nobody tells David anything.
I know, right? He's always in the dark.
Yeah. And then this is another trend I like where someone will come on camera who is not David and say, here's what's actually going on.
Yeah, right.
David's been lying. I had to like figure out a reason for Peggy to be like living with the Copperfields, because in the book she's like a nanny who like just like that's how it was back then, you know, like she would live with the family. So I had to kind of figure out some stuff, and it ended up making like Peggy and Mrs. Copperfield have like a more loving relationship to kind of create that situation where she would be living there. All right.
Things are kind of rough at home right now.
Let's get sad.
Mom and I aren't exactly talking, and Ed, well, I think Ed is mad at me for being mad at my mom.
He keeps trying to make excuses for Ed. It's like, buddy.
Right? The amount of times he defends Ed, I'm like, David.
Well, I think a lot of it comes from like him wanting to trust his mom. Because he grew up raised by just his mom, and he's kind of always seen her as like she knows what she's doing, and she's like, she's my parent, she has raised me, and so for her to like suddenly pick dating a guy like this and marrying him, he's kind of internalizing like she must have her reasons.
Exactly.
But the problem is her reasons are not good ones.
Good, yeah. But I mean, like I was raised mainly. I mean, I was raised a majority by my mother, I suppose. And so I understand that feeling of, you know, like they know what they're doing, you know, they can handle their life, and you just want them to be happy, you know, so you accept their choices regardless of how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a good philosophy at times, but not always.
Yeah.
And it clearly didn't work here.
Why do you think you would want to be there?
I also think it's interesting how writing Mrs. Copperfield, I tried to strike a balance between like how much she loves her son and how much she's letting Ed get away with, and how he's treating both her and her son. Because it's definitely like I even had some people who were watching the show, and I was talking to them about it, and they were like, I can't stand her. Like, why?
The mom?
Yeah. They were like, why is she like letting this man in the home who is treating her and her son like this? And I was thinking like, it's sometimes more complicated than that. Like,
yeah. When it's easy to say things like that when you're just watching a series. I do it too when I'm like watching Netflix. I'm like, why are you just letting this kid bully you? Punch him in the face, you know? But like real life, it's different. There's so many variables to consider in real life.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just gotta let things be. And that's really demonstrated throughout this show.
David,
Yeah.
you're really sweet.
Aw,
Oh my
Emily.
gosh, the breakup.
They didn't even date. And she
I
was just
know, but you know, I for sure David felt it was a breakup.
Yeah.
Want anything more?
Because David was like secretly hoping that like they would have some sort of long distance thing after this.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
And Emily was
first
never
kiss.
intending that. And she said it here, like she wishes that she had like she wishes that she had like made things more clear.
Gross.
Yeah.
I
This
kissed
is
you
also a
because
very
you were
real
nice
life
and I wanted to
situation,
make
though.
you
You
Yeah.
know,
feel
one
special.
person
Yeah.
gets their hopes up, but it was just something that
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was rude.
No, I was
Um,
just
and I think it's
surprised,
interesting
that's
that
all.
Emily also did not expect him to want to date her after that.
I
That
really
is
don't,
interesting.
David. I'm sorry.
And
It's
I think it's
what's wrong with
interesting
you?
here
I
where
just
she says, "You're not my type."
not my type.
I think that maybe her type is kind of a romantic ideal of a guy who can sweep her off her feet, and she kind of finds that later, and it doesn't work out well.
Oh, yeah. Young love. Wasn't
Yeah,
that all of our ideals when we were that
yeah.
age?
But there's a repeated thing throughout this series of like people calling David like sweet and nice. And that's definitely also a thing I wanted to be like. He kind of feels pressured to be nice all the time, but sometimes he just has to get mad at people.
Oh, yeah. There's a limit to everything.
Yeah. Oh my God, this is like almost exactly 2 years ago because this was January 1st of 2020.
wow. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We're recording this on January 9th. So I don't even know. There might be an episode that went up on the 9th. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll have to throw a party for the anniversary. I really like, for this particular scene, I just like this angle. I like
You
the
have this
colors. I like
as
the
your
lighting.
Instagram picture for like
I know,
years now.
forever. Yeah. It's probably still there.
Yeah, no, it is. I was just messaging you on Instagram because we were arranging this.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah.
just such a good shot to me.
Yeah, I like that
Tell
shot.
me I'm
Yeah,
pretty.
yeah. Back to school. We're gonna learn about Tommy and then meet Tommy in the next episode. I
Yes.
love Tommy.
Yes, everyone in the audience did too. When
Everyone loves
Tommy
Tommy.
appears, the comments blow up.
Yeah. But what I wanted to say about this is, in the book, David moves around a lot. He moves from a bunch of different locations because when he starts going to like Salem school, it's like he is sent there by Ed to a boarding school to like become a tough man. And I was like, I don't have that many locations.
Yeah.
But also, like, it felt weird to just keep uprooting David so much, especially because I've condensed it into such a shorter period of time.
Right.
So, like, the beginning of the book, and then him going to the Salem school, and then him living with Wilkins Macabre are like 3 different locations.
I was going to say, he still moves around a lot.
Yeah, but I had to cut more moving around. That's the thing about adapting Dickens. It's also in regards to the characters, is that I cut like 75% of the characters from the show, and it's still a massive cast.
Yeah.
Tommy.
I love the when they go to the party and she gets her first kiss.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna get to that one. It's in a few episodes. Once again, someone comes on camera to say David's been lying.
Yeah.
Tommy
the arc
is
with his teacher, that's wild to me.
Yeah, I needed to figure out some way to incorporate Mr. Barkus into the story. And I was like, I don't know, I'll just make him another teacher. It is kind of weird, but whatever.
It's like,
it would be very weird for like a teacher of mine to be dating basically my older sister.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's really weird.
But I like how you made it like you can see both. It's like a weird situation, but you can see the sides of it and how they came to the conclusion to do what they did.
Yeah.
Even though it does like kind of, it gives some people like the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
It gives some people like, of course he did that. You know, it's very much like.
Oh, are you talking about Mr. Mel now?
I think I may be talking about Mr. Mel.
Yeah, Barkus is the one who ends up dating Peggy. And Mr. Mel is the one who we learn later David had told about Ed and how Ed had been treating him.
I'm talking more about
everyone
Mr.
else interprets it as grossness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, in my head, writing this show, I pictured both Mr. Mel and Mr. Barkus as like two specific high school teachers of mine. Um,
Yeah.
Mr. Barkus be basically looking like a teacher that I had who was like the young hot teacher, um, and and then Mr. Mel, the reason he's a history teacher is because I kind of, in my mind, based him off of like a history teacher that I had, like my AP history teacher, who
Mhm.
was I liked a lot, and a lot of people did not like.
Really?
So
I
I
was
was
gonna
the
say
David
that
of that situation.
yeah. History teachers are usually the go-to, I feel. They're usually
Yeah,
the cool
people did
ones.
not like him because they thought they thought he gave too much homework and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
I love
It's
Tommy's
unfortunate.
coming out story. It's so good. Um, and the thing is, like, Caroline Kruller is mentioned like once in the books as being the older sister of the girl that Tommy ends up with, the character Tommy.
Oh.
Um, and I was just like trying to, because in this show, I would be like, I'm coming up with like backstory for people, and there would be random characters that would be involved, and I'd be like, I can just pick a name from this book who I'm not actually going to put in the show, but I can just like slot into this situation.
Right. I mean, when there's so many leftover characters, I'm sure
Yeah.
you could afford to do
Um,
that.
I am really happy with how I expanded Tommy's role in the show, because
Hmm.
Tommy is not as much of a major character in the book. He's there when like David is at Salem and meets like Steerforth and etc. And their friend David and Tommy are friends. And then he really only shows up again when the stuff with Uriah Heep is like going down, like
Hmm.
later. And he's like grown up and has gotten married and stuff. And I think that it was very big brain of me to make Tommy, who in the book, like one of the character traits for Tommy in the book is like he likes to draw skeletons in his notebooks. And I was like, great, I'm making him a goth lesbian.
Yeah. No, you did great work with that character. Everybody loved Tommy. I love Tommy. She did a great job with the role.
Mars is
Um,
great for sure. I
yeah,
think Mars
so
uses they them,
likable.
but yeah.
The Heather's analogy.
The Heather's and I imagine that like Tommy and David have watched Heather's together a bunch of times, and that's how they're able to like know the plot so well.
Oh, I'm sure. I bet they've
Yeah.
seen Heather's as much of as I've seen Heather's.
Oh, wouldn't it have been better if he did never speak to you again? Uh-oh. I like that line. This is high school, everything's a big deal.
Oh, yeah, right. I remember when my little high school problems were the biggest things I had to worry about. What a time.
I also, the idea that Tommy thinks that she is like the weight keeping David down from being like the one of the cool kids who everyone likes is very sad.
It
Um,
is.
and I tried to like get at Tommy's insecurities a lot later, where she's like, "Oh, here's Jason, everyone's favorite trash boy."
Oh yeah,
um,
everybody loved Jason when he showed up though.
yeah. Oh my God. Wait. One of the comments is I
I
ship
should.
it already. This is the first
Yeah.
episode he showed up. Um,
And they keep the comments, they keep like trying to push us together, and then the more the plot develops, they're like, oh, never mind,
wait,
stay away
never
from them.
mind.
Yeah.
um, well, what's interesting is I remember when we were casting, I was like looking through all the submissions on Backstage, and I was like looking through people that submitted for Jason, and obviously this was not the only reason, but as soon as I saw the picture of Ben, I was like, that's Jason. I don't know why, but like that
Yeah.
was in my head. I was like, oh wait, that's him. That's how I imagined him when I was writing. I don't mean
He's
that.
got a very good look for,
Yeah.
popular high school kid.
Yeah, I feel like he looks like the guy from High School Musical, the musical, the series. Do you see it too?
I have never seen anything
Okay.
High School Musical, actually.
It's the dude who broke up with Olivia Rodrigo and she wrote that whole album about.
Oh, wow. Looks
Anyways,
like this guy has a prop I was unaware
for
of.
some reason, every time I see that guy, I'm like, oh my god, that guy looks a lot like that. Yeah, this is a thing where in the book it was James Steerforth, and the reason I changed it to Jason was because I didn't think that this version of the character would go by James because it's too formal. But yeah. I also did not like any nickname for James for him either. I didn't like Jim or Jamie or Jimmy or whatever. Possibly because my older brother is named James, and I've grown up calling him Jim.
I think Jason works.
Yeah, it's a very like popular high school kid name.
Yeah.
There you go, Mr. Barkus. Kyle, I just picked on a whim. I don't know why I named him Kyle Barkus. He has no first name in the book. I was just like, what's a name? Kyle. Okay.
Well, we call him Mr. Barkus 90% of the time anyway, right?
Yeah. Well, what it is she keeps trying to get him to call him Kyle.
I get the sense that he was.
So, because like, willing. I liked establishing that there was some kind of backstory between Peggy and Mr. Barkus. Because I imagine that part of the reason that they probably hooked up once or twice, but I think part of the reason they didn't pursue a relationship was maybe Peggy felt weird about dating one of David's teachers. And now David's like trying to get, she's like, no, this is not happening. Here we go, David straight up lying again. Well, I guess he's not lying, but he's framing it as not a bad thing. Where it's like, wait, David, did you just confess to the fact that you have not been eating lunch for the past few weeks?
Yeah, and then Tommy's like, what?
Yeah. But this is based specifically on, in the book, when David is like traveling from Blunderstone to like the Salem school, and there's something where like David discovers that Mr. Murdstone had like not given him money for food. It was something like that. And I tried to figure out how to like adapt that. I feel like I've already been too annoying about it, buddy. But it does make sense that like he doesn't. He's trying not to piss off Ed, you know, because like volatile situation.
He just doesn't like to be annoying to anybody,
yeah,
so he's not gonna want to bother the administration, and then of course he's gonna want to stay as far away from Ed as possible, and not bug him so that he doesn't get clopped upside the head.
Yeah.
Everyone to know that Tommy Traddles is a hero.
No, I'm not. I'm so
oh my god.
I watched that last video and I was like, David, that's not healthy.
It's a repeated
hero. I have common sense.
Yeah, it's a repeated thing in this series. Well, where someone will watch David's videos and be like, "Wait, hang on, what?"
God, is that what I need to do to get my life together? Is post my problems and other people will fix it?
No, if I've learned anything from watching these kinds of web series, don't do that. It was helpful for David in this situation just because, like, well, I think it was interesting of like the idea that it's giving people the opportunity to kind of read his mind in a way where he will talk to the camera when he's alone about stuff that he might not necessarily talk to people about when he's in person with them. Right. And then when other people watch those videos, they're like, in a way, like learning about things that he wouldn't necessarily tell them if they were like face to face.
Yeah.
And I think it is like, it did end up being helpful in some ways for him because if people get to read his mind, then they can help him with situations. I like that line of sometimes you have to cause problems. It's the only way things get done in this world. Which, true.
Yes, that's a lesson everyone will learn eventually.
Yeah.
But at this age, you know, that's just how it is.
Yeah. So the situation with Mr. Mel and like taking him to see his mother and stuff like that, that does happen in the book. It's like Mr. Mel picks up David like when he gets to the Salem school and it's like, we're gonna go visit my mom real quick. And in the book it's weirder because there's really no reason for that other than it's like Mr. Mel needed to just like get this done or something, and he was like, I guess I gotta take this kid with me. And I tried to change it. I tried to make Mr. Mel more sympathetic because in the book, it's like it's like a similar thing happens later where like Steerforth like finds out about this situation that happened and like tells on Mr. Mel because he hates Mr. Mel. But in the book, there's never really an explanation for like why that even happened in the first place. And here I tried to give it an explanation.
Yeah, I think it deserves one.
Yeah, it does. Dickens, what were you doing? You can't just gloss over this. It's interesting because I feel like a lot of characters in Dickens' books go through so much. I joked about this, but I don't think there's a single Dickens protagonist who doesn't have at least one dead parent. They're either orphans or they have one alive parent. If they have one alive parent, that parent's probably going to be dead by the end of the book.
Oh, this is Rosa's episode. Yeah,
Rosa in the book is in like one scene, and then after reading that scene, I was like, I need to make her be there more because Rosa is fascinating as a character in the one scene she's in.
Yeah. I did like the scenes with her. She really adds so much conflict just by being there.
Yeah. Rosa is played by Alice, who I knew before this. What's interesting is in like 2015, I met her because she was in a web series that my friend Anya made that was an adaptation of Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. Okay. And she played like the Catherine Morland character in that. So she was like the protagonist of that. And she was playing like a college student in that. And that was 2015. And I kind of needed like a last minute Rosa because someone dropped out. And I was like, hey, Alice, could maybe, I know you're like, you're mid-20s now, but could you like, do you think you could play a high schooler? It's like, yeah, let's go for it.
She said bet.
Yeah. But Alice is wonderful.
She does a great job with Rosa.
Yeah.
That's nice.
David's like, I need these people to stop being straight in front of me.
No, there's so much uncomfiness.
I like the fact that Rosa calls him Dave because it means, one, she does not watch David's videos because she would know if she did that he likes to be called David, not Dave. And two, like, it makes, I don't know, every time she calls him Dave, I just laugh because it just does not feel right.
Yeah.
I also like here that, the lesbian.
It's a lesbian.
Listen, I love to hate Rosa sometimes. Like, I think she's given, like, she has a pretty raw deal in this show where, like, she thinks that her life is going to be a lot different than it ends up being. She probably thinks she's going to end up marrying Jason at some point, and, like, just all of a sudden, he just, like, up and disappears. And
Rosa doesn't really do anything wrong.
No, she's just kind of annoying.
Yeah, she's just kind of annoying. So it makes you kind of dislike her.
Yeah.
But also she doesn't deserve this. Such a likable character, so it's hard to dislike her too.
Yeah, and Alice does a good job of making her likable because I don't know. I can't help but like any character Alice plays. That's just but that might just be my bias.
It'd be so easy to just like make her a villain, but she did a good job of making her almost like a victim as much as she is. Yes, I love the party episode.
Yeah. I'm listening. I tried to add like party noise in the background, but I tried to make it quiet enough so you could still hear people. And I can't really hear it right now, but oh well.
You ever seen those TikToks where like people are like making dinner and there's like a whole bunch of like party music and talking in the back, but it's just like coming from Alexa?
I love you guys' like physical acting in this scene, especially because you can like there's like a full body shot and how you guys are just like I'm so glad for Tommy.
Ooh, the drunk acting. Sin City.
Good for her, gay rights and all that. I love that one. Once again, they need to stop being straight in front of David.
hands in the pockets,
your facial expressions in this scene are just top notch. Like,
oh, this was just taking me right back to high school when I was the person on the wall watching all the straight people make out.
Yep.
All your faculties.
So the thing about Jason's line about David having a sister is that's like straight from the book.
Is it?
Dickens just straight up wrote that and expected us to not be like, huh? It's basic. Like I literally just made it like more modern language. I can probably pull it up on my phone because I think I bookmarked that page on like my ebook of it. I bookmarked it and I had in the notes like what? Because it's like
It's wild. It's a wild line. Like, how do you just say something like that and not have the gay sirens just go off in your head?
I don't know. And also now it's like you're climbing through his window like Romeo and Juliet. What's happening here?
Right, very next episode, you're climbing in my window unannounced.
I don't know why I picked The Fifth Element for this. No, I do. I remember because in the movie the moral is that the fifth element is love.
Good choice then.
Yeah.
Confession, I have
Where
never seen
is
Fifth Element.
Okay, I think it's in chapter 7 of the book. I'm looking for it.
It's weird.
Oh, okay.
Show up to a girl's place at night with no warning. That's creepy.
Oh, but it's okay. This is okay though.
Yeah.
Jason's such a weirdo. I love him. He's horrible.
Oh, that must be Peggy. She's home late. What are you doing out so late?
I also like this that like Jason's like, I don't want to think about like for David this has become somewhat normal, but Jason's like, what?
Yeah, it's weird as a student to think of your teachers having, their own personal life and stuff like that.
Like, oh my God. Okay. So my first semester of college, there was a teacher of mine who, like for my intro to film and media studies class, which was like the big one, and this teacher ended up being my advisor. But my first semester of college, a few months in, my mom came to visit me and we went to the Emily Dickinson house because it was nearby. And when we were there, I ran into that teacher and their wife who were also taking the same tour as us. And that was weird.
Yeah, that'd be weird.
I wanted to say, okay, I want to go back a little bit. Where Jason's like, I thought that you were, and then there's a cut. I had you guys actually say the line in this, and then I purposely cut it because I realized when I was editing it that it kind of worked better to cut it off there where he's like, I thought you were, but then it cuts off because the line originally was like, he says, I thought you were a virgin, I think, right?
Yeah, I do remember that now that you say it.
But I liked cutting it because it could also be like, I thought you were gay. It could be a lot of different things. I don't know. This scene ended up it's just weird. It's like, David, you don't need to do things for people all the time.
That's such an odd angle. It looks like I just put the jacket like over his face.
Yeah, it's weird. Okay, I'm trying to find this line. Oh God. I'm just gonna like page search for sister.
What do you mean he's out? Well, it's not a sure thing yet, but Kriegel hates this guy, and
so I was told later that I should add a trigger warning. I didn't really think of it in the moment, but then afterwards I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Especially because you don't actually know what actually happened yet watching the show.
What? You're really not supposed to hang out with an underage student now.
A trigger warning for this episode in particular, or just
for like allusions to like the relationship. Someone asked me to do that, which makes sense, I guess. But
yeah.
Okay, here's the line. I'm gonna pause it because I need to read this. They had like just gone out partying or something, and then here's this. Good night, young Copperfield, said Steerforth. I'll take care of you. You're very kind, I gratefully returned. I am very much obliged to you. You haven't got a sister, have you? Said Steerforth, yawning. No, I answered. That's a pity, said Steerforth. If you had one, I should think she would have been a pretty, timid, bright-eyed sort of girl. I should like to know her. Good night, young Copperfield. Good night, sir, I replied. Wait, this last paragraph, though. I thought of him very much after I went to bed and raised myself, I recollect, to look at him where he lay in the moonlight, with his handsome face turned up and his head reclining easily on his arm. He was a person of great power in my eyes. That was, of course, the reason of my mind running on him. Yeah, not because you're into him at all.
No, not because you're gay.
It's like, the thing about this is, like, by playing up the weird subtext that Dickens put in, because Steerforth eventually becomes like a villainous character. And part of it could be like him potentially being gay or whatever. Like that could be part of what Dickens is trying to do there, of like trying to make you not like him. And I think that it would not have worked to lead into it here if I had not also had David be queer and end up with a guy, you know?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because then it would have just been like villainizing this relationship. But it's like, no, it's gay people are fine. This is just unhealthy.
I should turn the camera off.
I do like with Jason how it's like a slow burn of how he turns into a villain. Because he, like I said before, he's so likable when he comes on the first time.
Yeah.
But then, like, as scene after scene after scene, you just see more of who he actually is.
Yeah.
And by the end, he's like one of the bigger villains of the series.
Yeah.
Well, I gave it to him.
And now, of course, David blames himself for everything.
A few weeks ago,
I wonder if this will come back again.
So here's like starting to allude to what actually happened, where he said, I told Mr. Mel some stuff. He's not being honest about it even now.
I mean, I wish Jason hadn't said it, but he wouldn't have had
the thing is, like, I think that David probably could have, like, maybe explained things, but by telling about why actually he was spending time with Mr. Bell. But I understand why he wouldn't, because he's still trying to bottle everything up.
Yeah. Here's Clara again.
I specifically tried to frame this scene because she's supposed to be like a few months pregnant at this point, and I did not have any way to simulate that for the character. That was another random name. I don't know why I picked. No. His mother calls in the book, like his mother calls him Charlie in that scene, so it was Charles in the book.
Okay. This is the last scene we see Clara, right?
Yeah, because in the next episode, is untitled.
Maybe it feels like that now, but God, David, you're just a kid. You shouldn't have to deal with all this.
God.
She did so well as Clara.
Yeah,
I liked working with her a lot.
Yeah.
What are you sorry for?
I was trying to get along better with Ed, and
Like she felt like she gave off mom vibes, you know?
Yeah,
like,
she had great mom vibes.
Yeah, it was so easy to think of her as a mom.
We have plenty of time. Immediately next episode. No, we don't.
I love you so much, David. You know that, right?
yeah, I know.
Ah,
I love you too.
oh. I'm gonna pause right here on this episode because episode's like less than a minute, if you don't count like the outro part. Because you did a great job, first of all, being able to memorize all the medical stuff I had in the script here.
I was watching this and I was like, did I memorize that?
Yeah, you got it. God.
There's this condition called preeclampsia that pregnant women can get.
Oh, God.
Got about a 5
I really
6%
struggled
chance.
with how to play this scene, I feel.
Yeah.
Because David's not overly emotional, or he doesn't show his emotions very well.
Yeah.
Causes seizures.
Like some people wouldn't be able to say any of this. Some people would just be like broken down in tears by now. But the amount that David keeps inside, crazy.
Yeah.
That he's able to even communicate all this through a video.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know my
Because
mom.
the way I imagined it is after he learns that she's in the hospital and learns what she had, he like Googles it and like reads like a million articles about this condition. And that's why he kind of has this memorized by this point. He turns off the camera and there's no outro music. So you know it's serious and sad. That's something I did a couple times in the show where it just felt bad. Like I would like add the outro music and it would be like, that feels tasteless. To kind of have this jaunty little tune that my friend Josh wrote. After
I didn't even notice that until you pointed it out.
Yeah, there's no outro music here. It happens, it's in this, and then I think the next episode as well, and there's a couple episodes, like also episode 27. And and then in season 2, it happens, there's no outro music after the Dora David breakup episode. Or after the after like Emily talks about what happened with Jason, like that episode. There's no outro in there either.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Next episode.
The funeral was today.
Logistically, this doesn't quite make sense for them to have been able to organize a funeral that quickly, but I needed to have events happen quickly in this portion of the story.
What is this supposed to be the next day?
A few days later, I think.
I feel like that's pretty accurate for funerals. They happen pretty fast.
Okay. There's a scene in the book. Yeah. There's a scene in the book which is where like he mentions the people who own the funeral home, the Omers. And there's a scene in the book of that, like David sitting in the funeral home with like the Omers funeral home. And it's kind of a really intense scene where he's just like watching the goings on of the funeral home around him, and he's like trying to understand anything that's going on in his brain. And it didn't make sense for him to be filming in this show. But yeah. I still try to bring a lot of that scene into this, where he's talking after the funeral.
David, it's Peggy. Can I come in?
Yeah.
So sorry.
Oh.
Sorry.
And then she just adds more bad news on top of it.
I mean, she kind of just has to tell him, like.
Yeah.
There's no point in delaying it. She has to move out.
We can now, David. It's his house.
No, it's not. It's mine.
You're a kid.
I'm 17. I'm almost 18. Don't I get a say?
Not yet, David. I'm sorry.
She's so good in this.
I know, she's so good. I loved acting with her. If you're watching this, please hit me up. Let's do some acting scenes together.
Here's the first mention of Wilkins, who
Mr. Murdstone can keep me out.
I had to kind of rejigger the Wilkins character to kind of have them also be living in this town. Because in the book, basically, Mr. Murdstone sends David to work at one of his factories. And
too bad we didn't have a factory location.
Yeah. And then I love that David's in this moment is still like, so how's it going with Mr. Barkis?
So anyway, how's your dating life?
He also says, like, come on, give me some good news, which is understandable.
Yes, I'd say we're dating.
That's great, Peggy. That's great. I'm happy for you.
Very David to still be able to be happy for someone else.
Yeah.
Even through all this.
Yeah.
I love you too, Peggy.
And when he's like working at the factory, he's like boarding with the Macabre family. And so that's how Wilkins Macabre comes into the story.
So you may notice
we are now finally in my family's apartment, which is where we ended up filming a lot of the I love Wilkins.
Because that's all we've got.
Part of my idea is like with Wilkins adapting that character was like I was immediately like, okay, first of all, they're non-binary. I'm just doing that. Second of all, they are like, because in the book, a lot of it is like Wilkins Macabre is bad with money and just like kind of does not take a lot of things seriously. And I kind of just imagined them like Wilkins and Ella in this as just kind of like kind of I was with kind of not bohemian, but kind of just like doing whatever they want, and they have like a bajillion cats. In the book, they have a bajillion kids, but I just made them cats here.
Yeah.
Sort of treated her like a daughter, just sort of caught on.
Yeah, I
I
liked
love
working in the Wilkins family house too,
Yeah.
and the scene where we're painting together too. There's
Yeah,
just
that's
like
the
a lot
next
of
one.
fun stuff we got to do.
Yeah.
For later.
Can I
Actually, in the book,
who took whose
his wife, Wilkins Macabre's wife's name is Emma,
My own.
but I was like, there's already a character named Emily. We're changing that.
Right, you're not
Probably for the best.
That I am.
David learns about pronouns. I remember I was the one who knocked something off the table
Yeah.
because I don't have a cat.
Yeah.
5 cats.
Could have just set your dog loose.
Yeah.
We gotta take
Oh no, Scout does not like to be on countertops. She hates it.
Be a lot of cat food you guys have to buy.
Oh yeah, the Macabre
Yeah.
household is not
Um,
exactly overflowing with cats.
Yeah, there's one line that Wilkins does have in the book that I did not like directly adapt, and I kind of wish I had, where they're like talking about money,
Got plans.
and it's like
Plans.
Got it.
surprisingly anti-capitalist.
Start at-
Like the thing about Dickens is he's not good with a lot of stuff,
That's exciting. Good
but he has a lot of stuff where he's like, eat the rich, you know?
Yeah.
Like
that then.
like the entirety of A Christmas Carol, and then some stuff in this, and like,
Ahead of his time.
yeah, way too nice for your own good
What does
is
that mean?
a line that I liked. I felt like needs to be said about, like, that applies to both David and his mom, where it's like they kind of are willing to put up with too much stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Way
Um,
too much.
Bye guys then.
And I like having lines where people like compare David to his family members. There's like a line in season 2 where Asher like compares him to Aunt Betsy. That's kind of similar to that.
He definitely resembles Clara at the very
Yeah.
least.
So today's crafting day, and
We are painting.
My mom does watercolor paintings.
Yeah, I
and
just know
I
that.
could have borrowed her own
Tommy,
paints, but I didn't. I ended up just buying those like on Amazon or something.
I just watched the one
Yeah,
where you
probably
I love the
mine.
idea of Wilkins being like
Okay, to another
gay
house.
mentor to Tommy.
I didn't even get her number.
But this episode also starts to show a lot of like Tommy's insecurities, where she's like,
How intriguing. We'll have to
I'm not gonna like I'm like
It's not even worth it.
proud of being gay, but like I'm not like, if I'm living here, like I'm not gonna be able to like fall in love or anything. And like she kind of has like a negative outlook on her life, where she doesn't think that she's gonna end up having anything good.
Right. I think she's similar to David in that way,
Yeah.
where they're both very willing to help other people with their problems and do whatever they can for others,
Yeah.
but when
Yeah.
it comes to themselves, they've almost given up already.
Just a small
Yeah.
girl living in a lonely world. Get a midnight train going anywhere. Find adventure. Find romance.
And that's why I feel like Wilkins is so healthy to them, because
Yeah.
they have such
I can find
Wilkins is like, go do
Confidence.
whatever you want.
who I am,
Yeah.
And you definitely can. And heck, David, so can you.
Yeah, you can also find a girlfriend, straight boy.
Please. You are young. You have your whole life.
As far as we know so far.
Paintings. Works in progress. You guys did great. Take photos and put them on Twitter.
Yeah, I did take the photos of those paintings.
I don't even
I-
remember what
I can if I'm editing this and I can still find it on my phone, I'll put it up on screen.
No, this is fun.
It's David just always says like, this is fine. He's the living embodiment of the "this is fine" dog.
Yeah, the dog's sitting in a room on
All
fire.
right, but now this is David's breaking point, and it felt very cathartic to write this. Because the thing is, like, at this point, it's just David and Ed in the house, and
Right.
he's the one. He's the target of everything. He's the only one getting hurt, and he's fed up. He's taken too much, and I'm so glad I was able to give him like a moment to be like, fuck all of this. I need to just vent about this.
Yeah, everyone's got their breaking point.
Yeah.
And clearly David's is not soon enough for
Yeah.
compared to other people,
I
but
didn't think I should.
yeah, it was a good idea to give him this way to lash out. Doesn't
Yeah.
get too
Mom's gone. And I'm tired.
I like that line specifically goes like, "Mom's gone and I'm tired."
Ed. He's not a good person.
Because a lot of the reason that he was putting up with stuff was because
his mom.
He's like, my mom loves him, and I
Yeah.
want her to be happy, but she's gone now, and it's like he kind of realizes like I don't have to stay here. Like what Wilkins was saying to Tommy in the previous episode, I think resonated a lot with him. Like you can just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I guess that could have been Peggy, but Peggy doesn't know how bad it's gotten.
I mean, you tried to like dance around it.
Yeah, and he's like, he doesn't want to get Peggy involved because she's also living there, and like, so she could potentially be hurt by all this. So that's why he tells Mr. Mel, and here's the explanation. And I find it really interesting that like Jason never really apologizes for getting Mr. Mel fired without like asking David about what happened first. But you also get into like, would David have even told him?
I don't think Jason is sorry for anything he did.
I mean, I don't think he wants to see David get hurt like this.
I mean, true.
Yeah.
But he thinks he's doing everything right.
Yeah. I think
And
that in his mind, it's like,
all-
well, how was I supposed to know? You know?
Exactly.
And you could have known by asking David about it.
Right. He just did what he assumed would help, and it did the opposite.
He's like, well, sorry, but like, I
Yeah,
didn't
he's
know.
like, "Mhm."
Again, no outro music. And this will be the last episode we watched today. I don't know. I might just post this on its own, or I'll like wait until we can record for the second half of the season, just post that as one video. I'm not sure
Okay.
yet. I love Tommy.
Yes. She brings look after look, though.
Yes. Also, this episode also emphasizes the height difference, which I love. Take care of yourself. You don't do that enough. Like, it's just like hit after hit.
I'm gonna miss you, David.
You're the one who has to make new friends now, okay?
I'll just wait it out until summer.
I like how Tommy is like, I'm just gonna wait it out, but then like when she comes back early in season 2, she's like, actually, I have a girlfriend now.
Yeah. She did not wait around for that.
Yeah, because and part of that is because of David's videos, because the whole thing I had was that Sophie Kruller had thought that Tommy had a crush on her older sister because of that whole coming out story. And but after watching it's like Sophie watched David's videos and was like, oh wait, she was just doing that as like a way to spread the word about her liking girls. Maybe I do have a chance. And so they say it in the episode, but she's like, I'm gonna invite Tommy to one of our D&D games, and she's just gonna have to watch as I play a lesbian dwarf, and maybe then she'll realize that I like girls, which is like honestly a power play. I actually did give Sophie a in-character Twitter account like some of the other ones.
Oh yeah.
And I had some cute interactions between her and Tommy.
Actually, no.
So this is where David says how he's going to go stay with Aunt Betsy, and he's like, that might not work out, but like I'll figure something out. He's like taking a risk, and I'm very proud of him, my beautiful boy.
I didn't know you made a Twitter account for Sophie too.
Yeah, actually, the profile picture I used for Sophie is my good friend Zoe, because I had before the COVID times, like early 2020, I had the idea to film a bonus episode because my friend Zoe was at the time going to be spending the summer in NYC. And I had the idea to like contact Mars and like write a little script for like a bonus episode of like Sophie and Tommy hanging out. And then that never was able to happen because that summer was not able to happen.
Right.
It just did not exist.
For anyone,
yeah. But I don't think I ever actually wrote the script. It was just kind of like pieces of the idea. But that's why I made Sophie's Twitter account with Zoe's face, was because we could maybe have set that up.
Yeah. It was good planning, but the world had other plans.
Yeah. I was also like, maybe I could film a bonus episode of like the trio in season 2 going on a date together or something like that, and none of it worked out.
Yeah, the whole world kind of just turned upside down right after like we filmed this.
Well, we wrapped filming summer of 2019.
Right. And then it was in March that
of 2020, yeah.
Yeah, we shut down.
It was pretty soon after this was posted, actually, because this is February 10th.
Yeah.
Do you have any like thoughts on anything you wanted to say about like any of those episodes that you didn't say?
I mean, the series, like what we've watched up until now, is really like how David comes to be who he is.
Yeah.
So like this is almost just like laying out his backstory.
Yeah. Because like things are gonna get a lot better for David pretty soon, and like there's still bad stuff that happens, but comparatively, at least for him, he like finds like a loving family to be with and etc.
Yeah,
like,
he even tells Peggy like I don't want to come back. Like I'm happy here.
Yeah.
So like he goes through it.
Yeah.
Of course, still, but it's almost more normal high school problem.
Yeah.
Which is
good. That's what he deserves.
David, exactly. Yeah.
And I mean, really, if the kind of dark stuff that happens in season 2 is a lot to do with like Emily and Jason.
Yeah.
Emily specifically has it rough in season 2, even though she doesn't even really show up on screen until the end.
But we talk about her a lot.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll get to that when we watch those.